Hello and welcome back to God-Free Bible Study. This is my flagship series where we read the entire Bible and we do it without all of the Christian apologetic bullshit. This is, as always, your host, Adam Abdullah, and it's kind of a big day. It's a big episode. I'm pretty happy to be at this milestone because we're going to start at Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy goes through 33. So we are going to finish Deuteronomy today. It's always kind of a cool thing when we finish one of the books. I do a synopsis of that book afterwards, and I've been even compiling the episodes for each book into a longer episode. But this is also cool on another level because finishing Deuteronomy also means that we are finishing the Pentateuch. If you've been following this series, you are probably familiar with that phrase, or you may be familiar with it otherwise. But if somehow you're coming into this fresh and you don't know what the Pentateuch is, that's just a fancy Greek word that means 5 books. It means the first 5 books of the Bible. It's the original Torah, the basis for the old Judaic Testament or the old Judaic law. They don't call it the Old Testament, but the old Judaic Tanakh, which is scriptures, I guess. But the Pentateuch, of course, Christians consider it to be just a smaller part of the overall Old Testament, and yet it's foundational, right? I mean, it's the beginning of the Bible, being Genesis, but the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, they really are central or foundational to everything that happens thereafter, as you'd imagine, being the first 5 books. They are also the books that were, by some Christian traditions, written by Moses, which is absolute laughable bullshit, but whatever. But it's really cool to be thinking that I started this journey back in April when I started recording these and started publishing them in May, and now we are just getting through the Pentateuch. So forgive me if it feels like a little bit of an accomplishment. I've been saying for a while that when we get to this point, I might do something celebratory, maybe like a live stream. I've never done a live stream, and I reserve the right to go back on that idea. We'll see. But, put your comments below if you think that's a good idea or not. I mean, I don't have a huge channel, so I'm kind of afraid of doing a live stream in which it's me and like 2 other people. But maybe I'll do that just kind of as a way of saying, look, we finished the Pentateuch. Obviously, there's a lot more Bible to get through. There's a lot more Old Testament to get through. We've barely even scratched the surface. And yet this is so much work, so much time reading this, so much analysis, if you want to call it that, so much commentary. I guess that's probably a better term for it. My ad hoc, snarky commentary. But it does feel really cool to get to this point. So with no further ado, let's dive into the end of Deuteronomy. Specifically, we're starting at Deuteronomy 28. This is blessings for obedience. If you will only obey the Lord your God by diligently observing all his commandments that I am commanding you today. Remember, this is Moses talking. The Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. All these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God. Obey, obey, obey. I feel like this is like that 1984 Apple commercial, the gray and the horrible people talking to you down from the monitors, and everyone's sitting in the stands, at attention. Obey, obey. Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb, the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your livestock, both the increase of your cattle and the issue of your flock. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before you. No, he won't. He'll cause many of the enemies to overtake you, and then they'll give you excuses for why this is all your fault. They shall come out against you 1 way and flee before you 7 ways. The Lord will command the blessing upon you in your barns and in all that you undertake. He will bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. The Lord will establish you as his holy people, as he has sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk in his ways. In other words, at any point, if the Lord is not doing exactly what you thought he would be doing, it's all your fault, because there's some commandment somewhere that you haven't followed. All the peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of you. No, they won't. They'll conquer the Israelites over and over again. Ask how many Romans were afraid of the Israelites. The Lord will make you abound in prosperity, in the fruit of your womb, in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground in the land that the Lord swore to your ancestors to give you. The Lord will open for you his rich storehouse, the heavens, to give the rain of your land in its season and to bless all your undertakings. You will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You shall be only at the top and not at the bottom. That's not true at all. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today by diligently observing them, and if you do not turn aside from any of the words that I am commanding you today, either to the right or to the left, following other gods to serve them. So once again, as I've mentioned several times reading this paragraph, this is just furthering the control mechanism. You know, it's all good things will happen to you, but if you disobey me in even the slightest way, then all bad things will happen to you, which basically means that if anything is not going perfect in your life, then it's your damn fault and you should act better. And this is, to be fair, this is the pattern of most ancient religions, that everything good comes from obeying the gods or pleasing the gods, and everything bad comes from somehow pissing off the gods. But it's so sad to see that this is the basis of current Christendom, that this is the Yahweh that you're worshiping, whether you want to admit it or not. You can say you're worshiping Jesus, that's fine. According to your own theology, he's the same damn person. But this is your God, so yay for that. Warnings against disobedience. As if the whole previous chapter was not warnings against disobedience. The whole book is warning against disobedience. But if you will not obey the Lord your God by diligently observing all his commandments and decrees that I am commanding you today, then all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Ooh, goody. More curses. Got to have lots of curses from God. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the fruit of your womb, the fruit of your ground, the increase of your cattle, and the issue of your flock. Can't we just say everything we blessed you on in the previous one will be cursed? No, I guess we can't. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will send upon you disaster, panic, and frustration in everything you attempt to do until you are destroyed and perish quickly on account of the evil of your deeds with which you have forsaken me. The Lord will make the pestilence cling to you until it has consumed you off the land that you are entering to possess. The Lord will afflict you with consumption, fever, inflammation, with fiery heat and drought, and with blight and mildew. They shall pursue you until you perish. The sky over your head shall be bronze, and the earth under you iron. The Lord will change the rain of your land into powder, and only dust shall come down upon you from the sky until you are destroyed. God is love. Yeah, God is love. Pure, pure, unadulterated love. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You shall go out against them one way and flee before them 7 ways. You shall become an object of horror to all the kingdoms of the earth. Your corpses shall be food for every bird of the air and animal of the earth, and there shall be no one to frighten them away. The Lord will afflict you with the boils of Egypt, with tumors, scurvy, and itch of which you cannot be healed. The Lord will afflict you with madness, blindness, and confusion of mind. You shall grope about at noon as blind people grope in darkness, but you shall be unable to find your way, and you shall be continually abused and robbed without anyone to help. You shall become engaged to a woman, but another man shall lie with her. You shall build a house, but not live in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but not enjoy its fruits. Your ox shall be butchered before your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. Your donkey shall be stolen in front of you and shall not be restored to you. But what if it's a talking donkey? Your sheep shall be given to your enemies without anyone to help you. Your sons and daughters shall be given to another people while you look on. You will strain your eyes looking for them all day, but be powerless to do anything. A people whom you do not know shall eat up the fruit of your ground and all of your labors. You shall be continually abused and crushed and driven mad by the sight that your eyes shall see. The Lord will strike you on the knees and on the legs with grievous boils of which you cannot be healed. From the sole of your foot to the crown of your head, the Lord will bring you and the king whom you set over you to a nation that neither you nor your ancestors have known, where you shall serve other gods of wood and stone. You shall become an object of horror, a proverb and a byword among all the peoples where the Lord will lead you. This crap, this is the opposite of love. So, and you can sit here and tell me all day, oh, this is God. You have to obey God, all right? You have to obey God. What else do you want? But think about this in any other context. Take out the name of your loving God. He's all love, who's giving you threat after threat after threat after threat. Put in any other stand-in here for God. If I said, this is your boss, and your boss has said, hey, you will obey me, and if you obey me, you'll get all these blessings, which even that could be a creepy statement, right? But then he says, if you don't obey me, all of these things will happen to you. All of this crap will come down upon you. Let's take boss out of it. What if it was your partner, your boyfriend, a girlfriend, your husband or wife who said, obey me and all these blessings will come to you. But if you do not obey me, every one of these curses will come down upon you. What would you think of that person? You would think they're a damn psychopath. You would think that they're disgusting. You would think that you should get away from them as fast as possible. This is one of the most toxic diatribes in the whole Bible. There are worse things said, but the fact that he just goes on and on and on and on, and we're not even done yet. He goes on and on with all these curses. And this to me is the exact example of a petty and weak God. I'm going to finish this and I'll get into that. You shall carry much seed into the field, but shall gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. You shall plant vineyards and dress them, but you shall neither drink the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. You shall have olive trees throughout all your territory, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olives shall drop off. You shall have sons and daughters, but they shall not remain yours, for they shall go into captivity. All your trees and the fruit of your ground, the cicada shall take over. Aliens residing among you shall ascend above you higher and higher, while you shall descend lower and lower. They shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to them. They shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. All these curses shall come upon you, pursuing and overtaking you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the Lord your God by observing the commandments and the decrees that he commanded you. They shall be among you and your descendants as a sign and a portent forever. We're not even done with the curses yet. Think about how disgusting and petty this sounds. It goes on and on and on about all the horrible shit that will happen to you if you dare to not obey God at every single turn. This is not the sign of a loving person, a loving deity, a loving entity. It's not the sign of love at all. It's the sign of a controlling, threatening, dictatorial asshole. Because you did not serve the Lord your God joyfully and with gladness of heart for the abundance of everything. Therefore you shall serve your enemies whom the Lord will send against you in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and lack of everything. Notice here, it's not enough to just obey the Lord. You have to do it joyfully and with gladness. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Thank you, sir. May I have another? We're real happy. Yeah, you just have to keep smiling. Keep smiling and make sure that the angry storm god always knows that you're happy. Because otherwise, this entire list of threats will come raining down upon you. He will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. The Lord will bring a nation from far away, from the end of the earth, to swoop down on you like an eagle, a nation whose language you do not understand, a grim-faced nation showing no respect to the old or favor to the young. It shall consume the fruit of your livestock and the fruit of your ground until you are destroyed, leaving you neither grain, wine, and oil, nor the increase of your cattle and the issue of your flock, until it has made you perish. It shall besiege you in all your towns until your high and fortified walls, in which you trusted, come down throughout your land. It shall besiege you in all your towns throughout the land that the Lord your God has given you. In the desperate straits to which the enemy siege reduces you, you will eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your own sons and daughters, whom the Lord your God has given you. Yes, he's saying that he will inflict cannibalism upon you. Even the most refined and gentle of men among you will begrudge food to his own brother, to the wife whom he embraces, and to the last of his remaining children, giving to none of them any of the flesh of his children whom he is eating, because nothing else remains to him. Giving to none of them any of the flesh of his children whom he is eating, because nothing else remains to him. In the desperate straits to which the enemy siege will reduce you in all your towns. She who is the most refined and gentle among you, so gentle and refined that she does not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground, will begrudge food to the husband whom she embraces, to her own son and to her own daughter, begrudging even the afterbirth that comes out from between her thighs and the children that she bears, because she is eating them in secret for lack of anything else, in the desperate straits to which the enemy siege will reduce you in your towns. It's not enough that Yahweh has to threaten that you will be overthrown, but he has to make it specific that you will be besieged and you will be starving to the point that you will be eating your own children. God is love. God is so much love. Yea, Yahweh, all that love. And don't give me your Jesus crap, because according to your own Trinity bullshit doctrine, this is Jesus talking. Jesus is God, is the Holy Spirit. They're all the same damn thing. If you do not diligently observe all the words of this law that are written in this book, fearing this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, then the Lord will overwhelm both you and your offspring with severe and lasting afflictions and grievous and lasting maladies. He will bring back upon you all the diseases of Egypt, of which you were in dread, and they shall cling to you. You mean like all the diseases that he inflicted upon everyone while they were in the wilderness? Every other malady and affliction, even though not recorded in the book of this law, the Lord will inflict on you until you are destroyed. Although once you were as numerous as the stars in heaven, you shall be left few in number because you did not obey the Lord your God. And just as the Lord took delight in making you prosperous and numerous, so the Lord will take delight in bringing you to ruin and destruction. You shall be plucked off the land that you are entering to possess. Notice he makes a point, not just to say that all this bad shit will happen to you, but he says that the Lord took delight in making you prosperous and numerous, so the Lord will take delight in bringing you to ruin and destruction. In other words, your God of love will be happy to rain all this destruction and misery upon you if you fail to obey every damn one of his commands. He will take delight in it. God is love. The Lord will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other. You mean like you did at the Tower of Babel? Okay. And there you shall serve other gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your ancestors have known. Among those nations you shall find no ease, no resting place for the sole of your foot. There the Lord will give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and a languishing spirit. Your life shall hang in doubt before you. Night and day you shall be in dread, with no assurance of your life. In the morning you shall say, if only it were evening, and at evening you shall say, if only it were morning, because of the dread that your heart shall feel, and the sights that your eyes shall see. The Lord will bring you back in ships to Egypt, by a route that I promised you would never see again, and there you shall offer yourselves for sale to your enemies and as male and female slaves, but there will be no buyer. That's Deuteronomy 28. That's, in my opinion, one of the more disgusting chapters in the entire damn Bible. I mean, that's saying a whole lot. I mean, we've already read some just disgusting stuff. But this is the Lord threatening over and over and over again to gleefully do hateful shit to you if you do not obey him, and obey him happily and joyfully at every possible turn. This is ruling by threat. This is the antithesis of a loving God. And this is also the pettiest of all gods. I said this in previous episodes, but if I was ever going to worship a God again, it would be a God that would be the opposite of this. It would be a God who would say, go ahead, worship others, or don't follow my commands. You know, it's on you. See what happens. But it's one thing to say, see what happens, but it's totally different to say, if you don't do these things, I'm going to strike you down. I'm going to make a point of gleefully making your life miserable. That is disgusting. Deuteronomy 29. These are the words of the covenant that the Lord commanded Moses to make with the Israelites in the land of Moab, in addition to the covenant that he had made with them at Horeb. The covenant renewed in Moab. Goody, we get to renew covenants again, even though he feels no compunction to actually follow the covenants, but we're going to renew them again. Yay. Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, you have seen all that the Lord did before your eyes in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to all his land, the great trials that your eyes saw, the signs and those great wonders. But to this day the Lord has not given you a mind to understand, or eyes to see, or ears to hear. I like that. But to this day, the Lord has not given you a mind to understand, or eyes to see, or ears to hear. I don't know if that means that he's saying that you still don't understand or see or hear, or if he's saying, no, you don't have a mind that can understand, or you don't have eyes that can see, or you don't have ears that can hear. In my humble opinion, neither reading is very favorable to Yahweh, but I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. The clothes on your back have not worn out, and the sandals on your feet have not worn out. They said this before, and I'm sorry, that's bullshit. You're going to tell me that they were in the desert for 40 years and no one blew a sandal? Come on, dude. Come on. And you could say, well, it's, God did great miracles for them, but this is the same God that struck them down with plagues and had the earth open up to swallow them up. But you're going to have me believe that he protected each one of their sandals? Come on. You have not eaten bread and you have not drunk wine or strong drink, so that you may know that I am the Lord your God. When you came to this place, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan came out against us for battle, but we defeated them. We took their land and gave it as an inheritance to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Therefore, observe the words of this covenant and perform them, in order that you may succeed in everything that you do. You stand assembled today, all of you, before the Lord your God, the leaders of your tribes, your elders and your officials, all the men of Israel, your children, your women, and the aliens who are in your camp, both those who cut your wood and those who draw your water. I hope they didn't cut it on Sunday, because if they did, they've been stoned to death by now. To enter into the covenant of the Lord your God, sworn by an oath, which the Lord your God is making with you today, in order that he may establish you today as his people, and that he may be your God, as he promised you and as he swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Yes, he swore it. He also swore that all of you would get to the promised land, and he lied. I am making this covenant sworn by an oath, not only with you who stand here with us today before the Lord our God, but also with those who are not here with us today. You mean like all the people you let die in the desert? You know how we lived in the land of Egypt and how we came through the midst of the nations through which you passed? You have seen their detestable things, the filthy idols of wood and stone, of silver and gold that were among them. It may be that there is among you a man or woman or a family or tribe whose heart is already turning away from the Lord our God to serve the gods of those other nations. It may be that there is among you a root sprouting poisonous and bitter growth. All who hear the words of this oath and bless themselves, thinking in their hearts, we are safe even though we go our own stubborn ways, thus sweeping away the moist with the dry. The Lord will be unwilling to pardon them, for then the Lord's anger and passion will smoke against them. All the curses written in this book will descend on them, and the Lord will blot out their names from under the heaven. The Lord will single them out from all the tribes of Israel for calamity, in accordance with all the curses of the covenant written in this book of law. The next generation, your children who rise up after you, as well as the foreigner who comes from a distant country, will see the devastation of that land and the afflictions with which the Lord has afflicted it. All its soil burned out by sulfur and salt, nothing planted, nothing sprouting, unable to support any vegetation, like the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord destroyed in his fierce anger. They and indeed all the nations will wonder, why has the Lord done thus to this land? What caused this great display of anger? They will conclude, it is because they abandoned the covenant of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, which he made with them when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. They turned and served other gods, worshiping them, gods whom they had not known and whom he had not allotted to them. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against that land, bringing on it every curse written in this book. The Lord uprooted them from their land in anger, fury, and great wrath, and cast them into another land, as is now the case. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the revealed things belong to us and to our children forever, to observe all the words of his law. So that's the end of Deuteronomy 29. I'm just going to mention that once again, this is such a clear root of religious bigotry. It's truly setting out us against them. And I know that these were different times, okay? I know that generally speaking, in these ye olden ancient Bronze Age and Iron Age times, a lot of times you had a land that had a religion and a god or a set of gods. And it was considered de rigueur that everyone in that land followed the same gods. And they may even be facing punishment if they did not. But here it is codified that it's not enough for you guys to follow me, but don't dare let anyone amongst you ever worship anyone else, because if you do, my entire wrath will come down upon you. This feeds so much religious bigotry. This is the fire and brimstone shit that American evangelicals seize onto, because in their backwards little brains, it is dangerous to have Muslims in your town, and not because they have ideas of terrorism, although I'm sure that they will tell you that as well. It's dangerous to have Jews or Hindus or Satanists or Wiccans or anyone else in their town or living on their block, because they see it as this type of curse to be brought down from the Lord, as though you are incurring God's wrath. And as backwards as it is, I will be the first one to admit to you that there is backing for this in their holy text. Their holy text back up their own religious bigotry. On to Deuteronomy 30. This is God's fidelity assured. Oh boy. When all these things have happened to you, the blessings and the curses that I have set before you, if you call them to mind among all the nations where the Lord your God has driven you, and return to the Lord your God, and you and your children obey him with all your heart and with all your soul, just as I am commanding you today, then the Lord your God will return you from your captivity and have compassion on you, gathering you again from all the peoples among whom the Lord your God has scattered you. Even if you are exiled to the ends of the world, from there the Lord your God will gather you, and from there he will take you back. The Lord your God will bring you into the land that your ancestors possessed, and you will possess it. He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors. So even as he threatens you with curse after curse after curse, he always wants to make it clear, but if you come groveling back, if you come on your knees begging for forgiveness, then I can always restore you. That's the heart of control right there. Moreover, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, in order that you may live. That phrase, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart. I assume that that's just a turn of phrase, circumcising. While it is a barbaric practice, it is on some level a covenant, right? It's a mark that says we are of the tribe. So I guess circumcising your heart means to essentially put this mark on your heart. But what a weird way to say that, to circumcise your heart. Like, there's no foreskin on your heart, okay? Okay. God will circumcise your heart. The Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on the adversaries who took advantage of you. Then you shall again obey the Lord, observing all his commands that I am commanding you today. And the Lord your God will make you abundantly prosperous in all your undertakings, in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your soil. For the Lord will again take delight in prospering you, just as he delighted in prospering your ancestors, when you obey the Lord your God by observing his commandments and decrees that are written in this book of the law, because you turn to the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. These passages really highlight better than anything I could do in a cynical sermon why I'm so heavily now anti-theist. And I don't think that every theist is a bad person, but I think that theism in general is pretty gross, because in most theistic religions, it's usually never good enough to say, please follow our God or our gods. There's usually this twofold, this carrot and stick. It's, if you follow our God or our gods, all these good things will happen to you. But if you don't, all this bad shit will happen to you. And it's not just Christianity. But, and I guess there may be non-theistic religions that have these types of edicts, although I'm not familiar with them. I feel like non-theistic religions don't come with this ridiculous idea of curse after curse and punishment after punishment piled on you for not doing the right thing. Exhortation to choose life. Surely, this commandment that I am commanding you today is not too hard for you, nor is it too far away. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will go up to heaven for us and get it for us, so that we may hear it and observe it? Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will cross to the other side of the sea for us and get it for us, so that we may hear it and observe it? No, the word is very near to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart for you to observe. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today, by loving the Lord your God, walking in his ways and observing his commandments, decrees and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not hear but are led astray to bow down to other gods and serve them, I declare to you today that you shall certainly perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. Newsflash, you're all going to perish regardless. Granted, I understand the threat here is that presumably you're going to perish soon, but you're all going to die. So take that as you will. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life, so that you, I feel like train spotting, we should have train spotting running behind me, in the background. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying him and holding fast to him. For that means life to you and length of days, so that you may live in the land that the Lord swore to give you to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And yes, I know I'm dating myself with the train spotting reference, but my demographics for this channel and for this series are pretty on the older side. So you guys probably know what I'm talking about when I say train spotting. How would you like to be one of my advisors? I'm using Skepticus's memberships as a way to allow you to have a voice in the content and the direction of this channel. I hope to see you in the membership pool, and I want to hear your voice in what Skepticus is doing going forward. Deuteronomy 31. This is Joshua becomes Moses' successor. It's always fun to say. Moses is. When Moses had finished speaking all these words to all Israel, he said to them, I am now 120 years old. I am no longer able to get about, and the Lord has told me, you shall not cross over this Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over before you. He will destroy these nations before you. No, he won't. You'll have to destroy them yourselves. And you shall dispossess them. Joshua also will cross over before you, as the Lord promised. The Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the king of the Amorites, and to their land when he destroyed them. The Lord did not destroy Sihon, or Og. It said very clearly in the text that the Israelites had to do it. You might think that I'm being really unfair and anal retentive about this, but at those points where it said that they defeated Sihon and Og, it doesn't say anything about, well, their army defeated them, but God came down like in a firestorm, or God brought a tornado down or something. Like, no, there was nothing in the text whatsoever to even hint at the idea that God, Yahweh, had anything to do with it. So I don't think that I'm being unfair or nitpicky here when I say all of these claims that God's going to wipe these people out. Well, he keeps saying he's going to do it, and he hasn't done it yet. And all of these claims that God already destroyed these people. No, according to your own text, it was you who did the killing. So how do you want to keep telling? And I do understand that from a religious perspective, every time an army goes into battle and they feel like God was on our side. Okay, I get that. There's just this generic idea that God was behind us. But that's just generic braying that happens from the winning side. If you actually want to tell me that God destroyed them, you need to at least give me something in your own text that says he destroyed them. I mean, as a skeptic, I'm not saying that I will believe that a firestorm came down and wiped out the enemy, but at least within the context of your own holy text, I can say, okay, well, your claim is that God came down and destroyed these people. And yet that never happens. He never does anything according to the text, and yet they keep giving him credit over and over again for all these things that they claim he did. It's ridiculous. The Lord will give them over to you, and you shall deal with them in full accord with the command that I have given to you. Yes, kill everything and rape Mary, the virgins that are left over. Be strong and bold. Have no fear or dread of them, because it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and bold, for you are the one who will go with this people into the land that the Lord has sworn to their ancestors to give them, and you will put them in possession of it. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. The law to be read every 7th year. Then Moses wrote down this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. Moses commanded them every 7th year in the scheduled year of remission during the festival of booths, when all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose. You shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, as well as the aliens residing in your towns, so that they may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God and to observe diligently all the words of his law, and so that their children who have not known it may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as you live in the land that you are crossing over the Jordan to possess. Given the massive stakes that are laid out, if you believe the mythology here, if you believe all the blessings and curses and all the good or bad things that will happen, it's weird that they call for this to be read out loud every 7th year. Keep in mind that the population, of course, is going to be largely illiterate. So you would think that they would call everyone together at least every year to read this out. I mean, if you really felt this was that important, and if you thought that the stakes were this high and that God is going to curse you and bring horrible things upon you, I would think that they would read this more than once every 7 years. But okay. Moses and Joshua received God's charge. The Lord said to Moses, your time to die is near. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tent of meeting, so that I may commission him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meeting, and the Lord appeared at the tent in a pillar of cloud. The pillar of cloud stood at the entrance to the tent. In other words, this happened during a dust storm. The Lord said to Moses, soon you will lie down with your ancestors. Then this people will begin to prostitute themselves to the foreign gods in their midst, the gods of the land into which they are going. They will forsake me, breaking my covenant that I have made with them. My anger will be kindled against them on that day. I will forsake them and hide my face from them. They will become easy prey, and many terrible troubles will come upon them. On that day they will say, have not these troubles come upon us because God is not in our midst? So this is so weird to me that according to this passage here, God is telling Moses that your people are going to screw it all up. They're going to screw it all up, and I'm going to do all this horrible shit to them, and they're going to become easy prey, and many terrible troubles will come upon them. And you may wonder, like, why do I think it's weird that he says this here? Well, I know that God is supposedly omniscient, according to the classic Greek view of Yahweh and gods. But here's the deal. If he knew this anyway, then what was the point of forcing the previous generation to die out in the desert? Supposedly, he forced them to wander around the desert for 40 years because the original people that he led out of Egypt were too rebellious and they were going to screw everything up. So in theory, you had a fresh generation going into the Holy Land when they crossed the Jordan. And yet, before they even get there, right on the eve of getting there, God's saying, yeah, they're going to screw it all up. Everything's going to go south. Well, if that's the case, then you could have just led them straight to the Holy Land anyway. I mean, if they were going to screw it up anyway, what was the point of causing one generation to march around the desert for 40 years until they all died off? It's so backwards, and it contains no logic. On that day, I will surely hide my face on account of all the evil that they have done by turning to other gods. Now, therefore, write this song and teach it to the Israelites. Put it in their mouths, in order that this song may be a witness for me against the Israelites. For when I have brought them into the land flowing with milk and honey, which I promised on oath to their ancestors, and they have eaten their fill and grown fat, they will turn to other gods and serve them, despising me and breaking my covenant. And when many terrible troubles come upon them, this song will confront them as a witness, because it will not be lost from the mouths of their descendants. For I know what they are inclined to do even now, before I have brought them into the land that I promised them on oath. That very day Moses wrote this song and taught it to the Israelites. Keep in mind, this is basically Yahweh admitting that he is a horrible failure. Because if he can't convince his own people to follow him and believe in him after he has brought them out of Egypt, and after he has punished them repeatedly in the wilderness, and after he has made them run around the wilderness for 40 years until one generation dies off, and then right on the eve of them crossing the Jordan and going into the Holy Land, he says, yeah, they're going to screw it all up again. This tells me that Yahweh is incompetent. He's absolutely incompetent. Then the Lord commissioned Joshua, son of Nun, and said, be strong and bold, for you shall bring the Israelites into the land that I promised them. I will be with you. When Moses had finished writing down in a book the words of this law to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God. Let it remain there as a witness against you. For I know well how rebellious and stubborn you are. If you already have been so rebellious toward the Lord while I am still alive among you, how much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribe and your officials, so that I may recite these words in their hearing and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will surely act corruptly, turning aside from the way that I have commanded you. In time to come, trouble will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the work of your hands. So this is just pitiful leadership from Moses and from God, honestly. I mean, could you imagine that the current president, and I'm not getting into politics here, you can insert whatever president you want there, but you could imagine the current president getting up on the last day of his term before he's to hand over to the next president and saying, all of this will go wrong. You all are going to screw up. It's all going to go south. I mean, even if he's right, that is just some really shitty leadership to get up and tell everyone that, you know, once this takes place, once I'm gone or off the scene, or once this transition takes place, then everything's going to go south anyway. That is just shitty leadership. The Song of Moses. Then Moses recited the words of this song to the very end in the hearing of the whole assembly of Israel, which brings us to Deuteronomy 32. So I'll have some comments on this, but first I'm going to read through the entire Song of Moses. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching drop like the rain, my speech condense like the dew, like gentle rain on grass, like showers on new growth. For I will proclaim the name of the Lord, ascribe greatness to our God. The rock, his work is perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God, without deceit, just and upright is he. Okay, I said I was going to go through this, but I can't. His work is perfect, and all his ways are just. How many times have we gone through this text and said, that's what you call justice? Like, where is the justice? Okay, is a faithful God without deceit, the faithful God who will march his people through the desert for 40 years just so that he can kill most of them off. Just and upright is he. Yeah, dude. Yet his degenerate children have dealt falsely with him, a perverse and crooked generation. Perverse, crooked. No. Keep in mind, this is the Song of Moses. He's supposed to be singing this in front of the elders, so they can learn the song and pass it on. Could you imagine? Your leader comes in and says, here's the song that you need to know about God and the generation and everything. You need to memorize this. And then you're listening attentively to the song. And then it's about how you're all a bunch of pieces of crap and about how you've all dealt falsely with God and how you're all going to get beat down. And, someone's just singing this song to you like, la, 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 you're a jerk. La, 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 you're all going to die. Gosh. Do you thus repay the Lord, O foolish and senseless people? Is not he your father who created you, who made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years long past. Ask your father and he will inform you, your elders and they will tell you. This phrase here, like Dan McClellan talks about this, and he says, he contends, and I believe what he's saying, that this is really a sign that the Song of Moses is a far, far older oral tradition. The fact that even inside the song, it says, remember the days of old, consider the years long past, ask your father and he will inform you, your elders and they will tell you. In other words, ask everyone. This has been a long tradition that's been handed down generation after generation. When the Most High apportioned the nations, when he divided humankind, he fixed the boundaries of the peoples according to the numbers of the gods. The Lord's own portion was his people. Jacob allotted his share. So this piece right here refers to the divine council. And this is kind of a famous passage for those who follow this history, because this was actually changed a little bit. It used to say something more specific to the divine council. And in the oldest text, I guess it does say directly the divine council. But the idea here that Christians don't want to own up to. The fact is that they're saying the Most High, who is not Yahweh in this context, this would be El. When he apportioned the nations, he divided humankind and he fixed the boundaries of the people according to the numbers of the gods. In other words, it's like you have all these gods in the pantheon. You have Baal and you have, Ra, and you have all these different gods. And then according to the groups of people, they get their boundaries, and then each one essentially gets assigned a god, right? So Yahweh was assigned the Israelites, the Hebrews. So Yahweh has never been the God of everyone, has never been. And this ancient piece of text here that's probably older even than the original writing of Deuteronomy, this truly speaks to that. It speaks to this idea that you have all these nations and all these different peoples, and each one gets assigned their God out of the divine council. That's where this comes from. That's where this text, this verbiage comes from. He sustained him in a desert land, in a howling wilderness waste. He shielded him, cared for him. This is talking about Jacob. Guarded him as the apple of his eye. Of course, he didn't guard the people of Jacob as the apple of his eye when he was sending poisonous snakes against them or having the earth open up to swallow them whole. But I guess we can quibble about what is the apple of your eye. As an eagle stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, as it spreads its wings, takes them up and bears them aloft on its pinions, the Lord alone guided him. No foreign god was with him. He set him atop the heights of the land and fed him with produce of the field. He nursed him with honey from the crags, with oil from flinty rock, curds from the herd and milk from the flock, with fat of lambs and rams. Bashan bulls and goats, together with the choicest wheat. You drank fine wine from the blood of grapes. Jacob ate his fill. Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, bloated and gorged. He abandoned God who made him and scoffed at the rock of his salvation. They made him jealous with strange gods, and with abhorrent things they provoked him. They sacrificed to demons, not God, to deities they had never known, to new ones recently arrived, whom your ancestors had not feared. You were unmindful of the rock that bore you. You forgot the God who gave you birth. The Lord saw and was jealous. He spurned his sons and daughters. Once again, God is jealous. He said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom there is no faithfulness. They made me jealous with what is no God, provoked me with their idols. So I will make them jealous with what is no people, provoke them with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled by my anger and burns to the depths of Sheol. It devours the earth and its increase, and sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. This song is like a horrific, toxic love letter from a stalker. I will heap disasters upon them, spend my arrows against them. This is God supposedly talking. I will heap disasters upon them, about his own people. Spend my arrows against them, wasting hunger, burning consumption, bitter pestilence. The teeth of beasts I will send against them, with venom of things crawling in the dust. In the street the sword shall bereave, and in the chambers terror for young man and woman alike, nursing child and old gray head. I said, I will make an end of them and blot out the memory of them from humankind. But I feared provocation by the enemy, for their adversaries might misunderstand and say, our hand is triumphant. It was not the Lord who did all this. So the only thing, once again, we hear that the only thing holding God back is what others will think of them. And it's weird because this is supposed to be God speaking here, saying, I will make an end of them and blot out the memory of them from humankind. He's talking about his own people. But I feared provocation by the enemy. Yahweh feared provocation by the enemy. They are a nation void of sense. There is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would discern what their end would be. How could one have routed 1,000 and two put a myriad to flight? Unless their rock had sold them, the Lord had given them up. Indeed, their rock is not like our rock. Our enemies are fools. Their vine comes from the vine stock of Sodom, from the vineyards of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents, the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, sealed up in my treasures, for the day of vengeance and recompense, for the time when their foot shall slip? Because the day of their calamity is at hand, their doom comes swiftly. Indeed, the Lord will vindicate his people, have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone, neither bond nor free remaining. Then he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they took refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their libations? Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. So this is God essentially prophesying, although I've said before, and I'll stick to it, God cannot make a prophecy. But this is a prophecy that God will essentially let all this bad crap happen to his people. And then he'll bray about it. He'll say, oh, where are your gods now? That's God is love right there. That's a loving God. See now that I, even I, am he. There is no God besides me. I kill and make alive. I wound and I heal, and no one can deliver from my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and swear, as I live forever, when I whet my flashing sword and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will take vengeance on my adversaries and will repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives from the long-haired enemy. Yea, God. Praise, O heavens, his people worship him, all you gods. Once again, it's reference to other gods, basically saying, all the other gods should worship our God. For he will avenge the blood of his children and take vengeance on his adversaries. He will repay those who hate him and cleanse the land for his people. Could you imagine this old dude singing this song? I don't know if it rhymes in Hebrew or what, but singing this in front of everyone, this bloodthirsty, crappy, jealous, vengeful song, and this is the song of Moses. And everyone's got to be sitting around like, dude, thanks for that. Thanks for that song. Moses came and recited all the words of this song in the hearing of the people, he and Joshua, son of Nun. That had to be awkward as hell. When Moses had finished reciting all these words to all Israel, he said to them, take to heart all the words that I am giving in witness against you today. Give them as a command to your children, so that they may diligently observe all the words of this law. This is no trifling matter for you, but rather your very life. Through it you may live long in the land that you are crossing over the Jordan to possess. Just so many threats. Just threat after threat after threat. Moses' death foretold. On that very day, the Lord addressed Moses as follows. Ascend this mountain of the Abarim, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab across from Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites for possession. You shall die there on the mountain that you ascend, and shall be gathered to your kin, as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his kin, because both of you broke faith with me among the Israelites at the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. No, they didn't. By failing to maintain my holiness among the Israelites. No, they didn't. Although you may view the land from a distance, you shall not enter it, the land that I'm giving to the Israelites. It's like God just has to one more time rub his nose in it. I mean, literally, this is his favorite prophet, his ultimate leader, Moses, and he's just rubbing his nose in it like a puppy who's peed on the carpet, It is so petty and weak. And finally, we are at Deuteronomy 33. This is Moses' final blessing on Israel. Actually, there's one more chapter after this, 34, but we'll get to that. This is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the Israelites before his death. Yeah, after singing that whole crappy song, then he's like, well, but here's a blessing. The Lord came from Sinai and dawned. I'm going to go through this quickly. The Lord came from Sinai and dawned from Seir upon us. He shone forth from Mount Paran. With him were myriads of holy ones. At his right, a host of his own. Indeed, O favorite among peoples, all his holy ones were in your charge. They marched at your heels, accepted direction from you. Moses charged us with the law as a possession for the assembly of Jacob. Notice it says Moses charged us with the law, but this is supposed to be Moses' final blessing. So people that want to tell you Moses wrote this doesn't make a damn bit of sense. You don't write that way if you're Moses. There arose a king in Jeshurun when the leaders of the people assembled, the united tribes of Israel. May Reuben live and not die out, even though his numbers are few. And this he said of Judah, O Lord, give heed to Judah and bring him to his people. Strengthen his hands for him and be a help against his adversaries. And of Levi he said, give to Levi your Thummim and your Urim to your loyal one, whom you tested at Massah, with whom you contended at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and mother, I regard them not. He ignored his kin and did not acknowledge his children, for they observed your word and kept your covenant. They teach Jacob your ordinances and Israel your law. They place incense before you and whole burnt offerings on your altar. Bless, O Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Crush the loins of his adversaries and those who hate him, so that they do not rise again. Of Benjamin he said, the beloved of the Lord rests in safety. The Most High surrounds him all day long, and he rests between his shoulders. And of Joseph he said, blessed by the Lord be his land, with the choice gifts of heaven above and of the deep that lies beneath, with the choice fruits of the sun and the rich yields of the months, with the finest produce of the ancient mountains and the abundance of the everlasting hills, with the choice gifts of the earth and its fullness and the favor of the one who dwells on Sinai. Let these come on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers. A firstborn bull, majesty is his. His horns are the horns of a wild ox. With them he gores the peoples, all together to the ends of the earth. Such are the myriads of Ephraim, such the thousands of Manasseh. And of Zebulun he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in your going out, and Issachar in your tents. They call peoples to the mountain. There they offer the right sacrifices, for they suck the affluence of the seas in the hidden treasures of the sand. And of Gad he said, blessed be the enlargement of Gad. Like a lion he lives, he tears at arm and scalp. He chose the best for himself, for there a commander's allotment was reserved. He came at the head of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord and his ordinances with Israel. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp that leaps forth from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, sated with favor, full of the blessing of the Lord, possess the west and the south. Why do we have to have so many tribes? Oh my gosh. And of Asher he said, most blessed of sons be Asher. May he be the favorite of his sons, and may he dip his foot in oil. Your bars are iron and bronze, and as your days, so is your strength. There is none like God, O Jeshurun, who rides through the heavens to your help, majestic through the clouds. He subdues the ancient gods, shatters the forces of old. He drives out the enemy before you and said, destroy. So Israel lives in safety. Untroubled is Jacob's abode, in a land of grain and wine, where the heavens drop down dew. Happy are you, O Israel, who is like you, a people saved by the Lord, the shield of your help and the sword of your triumph. Your enemies shall come fawning to you, but you shall tread on their backs. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the last chapter, Deuteronomy 34. I know I said 33 before. That was just my way of kind of screwing with you and keeping you along, you know. One more chapter, one more chapter, one more chapter. But this is really the last chapter. I've even looked ahead here. Deuteronomy 34 is the last chapter. Then it goes to Joshua. Then we're out of the Pentateuch. So this is the end of Deuteronomy. Let us all raise a glass to the glory of the Pentateuch. This is Moses dies and is buried in the land of Moab. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is opposite Jericho. And the Lord showed him the whole land, Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the Negeb and the plain, that is the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. The Lord said to him, this is the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there. Yes, we know, God, you've made this clear. Can you give it a freaking rest? Then Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab at the Lord's command. Like, at the Lord's command. Like, did he just go die? You know, did he just tell him, you die now? Did the Lord have to command it? I mean, couldn't he just make him die? It's so weird. He buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows his burial place to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His sight was unimpaired, and his vigor had not abated. The Israelites wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the period of mourning for Moses was ended. Joshua, son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him, and the Israelites obeyed him, doing as the Lord had commanded Moses. Never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. He was unequaled for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to perform in the land of Egypt, against Pharaoh and all his servants and his entire land, and for all the mighty deeds and all the terrifying displays of power that Moses performed in the sight of all Israel. So a couple final thoughts here on Deuteronomy 34. You've heard me say numerous times throughout these readings that the Pentateuch was not written by a single person. We don't know who the people were, but it's very well established that this is not a single author. The Pentateuch was not written by Moses. That's ridiculous. Even in the most charitable reading, the Pentateuch here, the last chapter of Deuteronomy, ends with Moses' death, with the description of his death. So, you know, I know that you could say, well, he wrote everything up till now, and then Joshua or someone wrote the last chapter. But even then, that's not true. But even if we wanted to accept that, it would still mean that Moses did not write the whole Pentateuch. There's no reason to believe that Moses wrote any of the Pentateuch. There's no reason to believe that Moses is an actual historical figure. We have yet no actual evidence to back that up. But I know that that will make the Christian apologists and fundamentalists, you know, wet their pants. This sentence here is interesting to me because it says, never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses? So that sentence alone is not the kind of sentence that you even write right after he dies. You would write that a while after he died. So in other words, someone who's writing, 50 or 100 or even 1,000 years, whatever, after, if there even was a historical Moses, that would be written quite afterwards. I think it's interesting because, of course, you can assume that this is from the time of whenever this person wrote this. But for Christians who want to believe in the people who hold the doctrine of, perfect inerrancy, like the in perfect literalism, like the Bible is supposed to be taken word for word. Well, if we read that word for word, even though this was clearly written thousands of years ago, if we read it word for word, the sentence just says, never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses. So if I read that today, I can say, well, even to this day, never since has there arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses. Now, of course, people would say, no, there's been other prophets like Daniel and Isaiah and others, and they'll, of course, say Jesus was the ultimate, right? But if you took this very literally and just read it at face value, it'll say never since. If I'm reading this from this year when I'm recording this video, I can say, well, never since has there arisen a prophet like in Israel like Moses. That means that Jesus wasn't a prophet like Moses. Daniel and Isaiah weren't prophets. Hey, it says right here, never since has there arisen a prophet like Moses. But I understand that even if you're trying to chip away at someone's beliefs, they would still say, no, that's supposed to be from someone who's writing, 2,000, 2,500 years ago, something like that. So that's fine. That's fine. But this gets us all the way through the Pentateuch. It's been a journey. The journey is not over. We're going to continue God-free Bible study into Joshua. That will be the next book that we dive into. But it does feel like a landmark to have gotten through these first 5 books, just because, not that the number 5 means anything, but because the Pentateuch itself is considered a significant volume. It's considered the beginning, like the first writings of the Bible. It's considered the oldest part of the Bible in terms of the stories it's telling and such. So people point to the Pentateuch as being the source. Plus, the story of the Exodus is so central to Christianity. And really, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy all in aggregate tell the story of the Exodus. So it's quite a journey. It took me a good bit to get to this point. We've put a lot of stuff on camera. We've done a lot of videos, a lot of hours. We're not done yet, but I kind of feel like a little backpack. Like, hey, we got somewhere. We've gotten through a significant stepping stone or a significant milestone, even though we're not even close to a half or a third of the Old Testament. There's still a lot more Old Testament to go through. But if you've been with me through all this, I don't know how many of you have. If you have, put a comment below and just tell me. I don't know how many of you have actually watched everything up to this point. I think there's a few of you out there, maybe a dozen or so. But if you have, throw a comment below. I'd just like to know if you've actually watched all of this so far. If you have, thank you for that. And if you haven't, that's fine. I don't expect anyone to sit down and watch every single one of these episodes, even if you really love them. But if you're that person, then that's really cool. I want to give special thanks to my members. As always, you guys are giving me life. You guys are keeping me going through this, and I really appreciate the constant support. If I've said anything anywhere here in the Pentateuch that Yahweh disagrees with in any way, I don't know what else he's going to tell me, because I've read the whole damn thing and it doesn't make any sense. It's disgusting. I'm going to leave on this note. I know this is already a long episode, but I'm going to leave on this note. I know that for people who want to cling to Christianity or, the text or whatever, they will say that I'm reading this unfairly. I'm not taking it in context, although I've basically read the whole damn thing in front of you. And for almost every single point that I bring up in any of these videos, you could argue that there's a more charitable reading, that you're just not being fair, or you're just not considering this other context, or you're not thinking about this other verse that's written somewhere else in another book, 10 books later. For almost every single thing I'm bringing up, yeah, you can make your arguments for why maybe I'm just being uncharitable. I don't think that when you take everything that I'm taking in aggregate, that it's fair on anyone else's part to say that I'm being uncharitable. Because it's one thing if I took one item out of context and say, oh, look at this stupid sentence. Look at this stupid verse. Look at this stupid old law. But I've now read through the whole damn Pentateuch. And in aggregate, it's nonsensical. It's immoral. It's disgusting. And the character of the God presented here is one that I find to be embarrassing and not what anyone should want to follow in their life. Now, of course, Christians won't agree with me on that, and that's fine. But for everything that I've gone through in these 5 books, the entire Pentateuch, I don't know how you can go through everything that I've said and just discount all of it. I mean, I know how you can, because you just don't care if you're just a Christian who doesn't care what any skeptical person says, atheist or whatever. But if you attack it with even a modicum of skepticism, even a modicum of just neutrality, the injustices, the lack of a loving God, the just horrible contradictions, they just jump off the page at you, one after another after another. And you could hand wave away a few of them. You could give me excuses for a few more of them. But I've now gone through, 40, 45 hours of this, and they don't stop coming. It just gets worse. Not that that's going to change the mind of any Christian. But again, I want to thank everyone here who's been through this whole journey so far. We're not done, so don't stop watching God-Free Bible Study, although I do feel like it's kind of a significant milestone on the road. I hope to see all of you on future videos. But until I do, lo, I say unto you, stay skeptical.